Friends, let us take a deep breath in. Arrive in this holy place, made sacred by you and you and you and you. Each one of us come together, building courage together to live into the mystery that is this life, this world, this universe. Beloveds, let us take a deep breath in and out. Let us worship together. This may surprise some of you, but there are things we still can't explain. Sometimes before, during, or after a large earthquake, mysterious flashing lights are seen in the sky. People have described them as blue, white, multicolored, sometimes every color in the spectrum. These earthquake lights usually only last a few seconds, though some have been observed for as long as a minute. Earthquake lights have been observed throughout history. The earliest report dates back to 373 BCE. That's 2,018 years plus 375 more. It's a long time ago. The 20th century provides the majority of the reports because, history gets lost. After the 1930 earthquake in Japan's Edo Peninsula, more than 1,500 people told researchers they had seen these mysterious lights. After the 1976 Tangshan earthquake in China, people reported colorful flashing light display that was seen in the sky up to 200 miles away. Now, scientists didn't begin to take earthquake light reports seriously until 1960, when they were first photographed. More recently, people have even captured the earthquake lights on video, and if you ever go out to YouTube, there's some fascinating flashes of mysterious lights. Many wonder whether the earthquake lights can be taken as a warning that an earthquake is about to happen. In 2012, Chilean journalist Cecilia Lagos witnessed earthquake lights, and later she said, "I saw through my window while I was in bed. I saw the sky changing color. It was absolutely surreal. I really thought it was the end of the world." I don't know, I hope you understand me because I'm not exaggerating, because really, I saw it through my window like that. It was the most terrifying thing, seeing the sky changing colors while the terribly, amazingly strong movement of the earth. I thought, okay, this is Mother Earth. An old Japanese haiku poem hints at the connection between these lights to the movement under the Earth's surface. The earth speaks softly to the mountain, which trembles and lights the sky. Science does not yet know with certainty the cause of earthquake lights. Here ends our reading. Friends, in the journey of love, there are many joys and sorrows. And I invite you to join me in what I have been told here at Horizon is an old school moment of actually turning in, singing the Living Tradition hymnal, to reading 610. And we've sung in rounds today. We're going to responsive read in a little bit of a round today. So I'm going to I'll read all the standard text, and then I'm going to invite this side to read the first italics, this side to read the second, third, fourth. You see how this will go. And I will even learn from you. I'll do a little directing here. But I will invite you to take a breath in as we enter together this journey of love. Where in our hearts is that burning of desire?
It is true that we are made of dust,
and the world is also made of dust,
but the dust has most rising.
Whence comes that drive in us?
We look to the starry sky, and love storms in our hearts.
Whence comes that storm?
The journey of love is a very long journey.
But sometimes, with a sigh, you can cross that vast desert.
Search and
You may find sometime a treasure on your way.
My heart and my eyes are all devoted to the vision.
May it be so. Thank you, friends. In 1858, a scientific expedition passed through that part of the country we now know as the Grand Canyon. A young lieutenant by the name of Ives made his entry in his report. Mystery abides. This region we last explored, the Grand Canyon, is, of course, altogether valueless. It can be approached only from the south, and after entering it, there's nothing to do but to leave. Ours has been the first and doubtless the last party of whites to visit this profitless location. It seems intended that the Colorado River, along the greater portion of its lonely and majestic way, shall be forever unvisited and undisturbed. Well, no such luck for the Colorado River, I'm afraid. Friends, the Grand Canyon National Park visitor estimate for 2016 was approximately 5.97 million. We'll call it 6 million people. And while I cannot say with certainty how many of those visitors were parties of white, I do know at least one of them was, because I was at the Grand Canyon in November of 2016. Sometimes we live at the edge of our knowing, and we get it wrong. When I very first started preaching, and this happened every time that I got up there, because speaking in front of people was not what I had planned for at any part of my life. I started preaching at the North Shore Unitarian Universalist congregation, and I remember the very first time I stepped into that pulpit, I looked out, and there was an elder gentleman with the fiercest resting face I have ever seen. Roy, do you know this face? Can you do this face? Do you have a fierce resting face? Do you know? Can you do? Oh, yeah. And I was preaching and I was thinking, what did I say? What was it that could produce such fierceness? But I held it together, so I think, in my memory I held it together. And afterwards, he came up on his cane and he said, "Thank you." And a little tear came out of the corner of his eye, and he said, "You opened my heart today." And I nearly passed out, because that is not what I thought was going to happen. Sometimes we come to the edge of our knowing, and we get it wrong, and that's okay. All my life in America growing up, I've learned that those horse-like creatures with black and white stripes are called zebras, and I was pretty confident in that, teaching it to the world, until one day, Trevor Noah, the comedian you may know from South Africa, until one day I heard him say, "They're called zebras. You don't even have them here. You don't get to name them." Zebras. Sometimes you come to the edge of your knowing and you find out you've been wrong all along. And we can learn a new way. We can learn a new way. In her work, Emergent Strategy, Shaping Change, Changing Worlds, organizer and Adrienne Marie Brown, and I just want to commend this book to you. It's like every time I go back, it's something juicy. She says, the easier being wrong is for you, the faster you can release your viewpoint, the quicker you can adapt to changing circumstances. Adapting allows you to know and name current needs and capacity, to be in relationship in real time, as opposed to any cycle of wishing and or resenting what others do or don't give you. Wishing or resenting, I don't know anything about that. She writes, sometimes there isn't one definitive truth, and these are her favorite times, and sometimes there is one, and you can't see it, least favorite, least. Just at least consider the place where you are wrong might be the most fertile ground for connecting with and receiving others. Roy became a treasured soul congregant, and we just marked the 3rd anniversary of his death last Sunday. Changed a lot of what I think when I look into people's faces. And in a beautiful twist, listen to this, being soft in your rightness, as opposed to smashing people with your brilliance, can open up to others up to whatever wisdom you've accumulated, right? She writes, I'm grateful to all the people who were softly right about me this past month when I couldn't see my own needs. I give thanks for the people who have been softly right with me throughout the years. Friends, we live at the edge of our knowing. Thomas Berry, the cosmologist, theologian, whose work named the relationship between science and spirituality in a new and powerful way, said, there's the way the mother knows the baby and the way the doctor knows the baby. These ways of knowing are essential, important, and always incomplete. A few years ago, I heard Bruce Knotts, who's the director of our Unitarian Universalist United Nations office, tell the story of a distinguished panel of UUs that he had hosted there at the United Nations. And someone asked the question, what is the greatest challenge for Unitarian Universalists to make a difference in our world going forward in this 21st century? 4 out of 4 experts replied, our arrogance. Our arrogance. Ouch. I was like, 4 out of 4? Friends, may we learn to be soft in our rightness and willing to learn from being wrong. We live on the edge of our knowing every day, each moment making choices in the spaces between our knowledge, the mystery, our history, our intuition, and the unknown future. Albert Einstein, who knew the how of physics more than perhaps any other person, except maybe his wife, said, as we acquire more knowledge, things do not become more comprehensible, but more mysterious. The most beautiful thing we can experience is the mysterious. That Japanese haiku poem about the earthquake lights speaks gently of this position of mystery. The earth speaks softly to the mountain, which trembles and lights the sky. Part of our need for religious community as human creatures, I think, comes from this edge place. Many of us experience this call to gather together, dozens, hundreds, thousands, sitting, standing, shoulder to shoulder. Our stars, because we are, but our faces turned towards the stars, sometimes with wonder, turned towards the internet and the television, sometimes with disbelief. Friends, there is so much news to process right now and so much struggle to bear witness to. And often the question is, what do we do now? The Reverend Elizabeth Wynn, spiritual sustenance advisor, love that, spiritual sustenance advisor, for our Unitarian Universalist Association's recently renamed Side with Love campaign writes, when we come to the edge of our knowing, when we do not know what to do, we try anyway. Particularly in our justice movements, it's so easy to forget that behind every triumph, there are a million messy choices, a million mysteries with no clear answer. We are told that if we don't know what we're doing it wrong. But the truth may be the opposite. Only when we don't know exactly what we're doing are we doing the real work. So we bring our bravery, we bring our love to the real work, to the mysteries that are so uncertain, the very ones that grow our spirit. At the end of the day, friends, we are asked to do the best that we can with what we think we know. Open always to learning more and differently, and to offer ourselves and each other a lot of grace on the journey. As Muslim philosopher, poet, mystic, and politician Muhammad Iqbal told us, the journey of love is a very long journey. But sometimes with a sigh, you can cross the vast desert. Search and search again without losing hope. You may sometimes find a treasure on your way. There has been great treasure on my way, and I am so grateful that Unitarian Universalists in the South have claimed the missional work of the Center for Ethical Living and Social Justice Renewal. The mission of catalyzing social, economic, environmental, and racial justice continues long. Didn't make a small mission, going to be in business for a very long time. Social, economic, environmental, and racial justice. And your commitment, personally and congregationally, to bring your bravery, to bring your love to the real work, to the mysteries that are so uncertain, the ones that grow your spirits, is a deeply faithful practice. On the edge of our knowing, we can choose to live with hope and courage, adapting to changing circumstances, challenging systems of oppression, and living into the mystery. In the novel The Kindness of Strangers by Katrina Kittle, a character named Danny remembers a story from his childhood. He'd been very small, maybe 4 or 5, and he'd been playing by himself in the backyard of his house. Mom and Dad loved to tell how Danny came running into the house and shouted, "Did you know that when you jump, both your feet come off the ground?" Everyone thought it was cute and dumb, but really, to Danny, it had been a very scary moment and an amazing realization. He had seen his shadow against the garage. He had jumped into the air and had seen this space between his body and the grass. Against the white wall of the garage, he saw himself floating, not connected to anything. What keeps you from floating away? Now, Dad told him about gravity, but it was Mom who listened to Danny explain his fear and who hugged him and said, "I'll keep you from floating away. There's a connection between us, even though you can't see it. You will always be connected to us." In so many ways, beloveds, our relationships as Unitarian Universalists serves as emotional gravity in the midst of a world struggling with the concepts of compassion and dignity and respect. May your faith continue to shine with courage and prophetic grace on the edge of our knowing as we live into the call of beloved community. So much is known, so much more is unknown. Still, at the edge of our knowing, we can make the most loving choices we can, mapping new futures with our commitment to live faithfully. This blessing by Jan Richardson has been a gift to me in this moment. I pray you find some spiritual sustenance on the edge of your knowing. When in darkness, let there come stillness. When in shadow, let there come silence. When in mystery, let there come dreaming. When in waiting, where the map begins. May our faithful journey continue long, friends, with compassion and courage. Amen and Ashe.